Agreed.
Oh, mate, I have to say strongly disagree.
I got beats when I was a kid. They're naughty. There were pushes
and you can wake up one day and feel like, F this, I don't want to be a mum.
You know, if I was to say to you, do you know what? I regret having one of my children, or the timing, or, you know, maybe I should have waited.
Oh my gosh, how can you think this?
Welcome to Do All Mothers Think the Same? The show that puts perspectives to the test. Each episode, we bring together a group of people with shared experiences to tackle bold, thought-provoking statements. Will they agree, disagree, or rethink what they believe? By the end, discovering, do we all think the same?
My name is Tatiana. I'm a personal trainer and a podcaster part-time. And I've got 2 little rascals that drive me crazy.
I'm Shells, guys. You may have seen me.
No need to apologise.
Sorry, that was Siri. Yeah, I'm Shells, guys. I'm a third of Mama Drama podcast, our podcast. I'm also a social worker as well. And I've got one lovely son.
Hi guys, my name is Maryam. I am the founder of a parenting organisation which is called Black and Brown Parenting. I'm a public speaker and I'm a speaker coach, and I am a mum of 3 wild girls.
Hi, I'm Karadai. I am a nutritionist and I have a podcast on nutrition from a biblical perspective, and I have one 2-year-old son.
Mothers should always put their children before themselves.
Disagree.
Strongly disagree.
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 It took me a very long time, actually, to realise that they don't come first. I think older generations kind of teach you to put your kids before everything, but actually it's not okay, because I think our mental health is massively important. And if we're not at our best selves, our kids are not happy either, and they recognise that. So I think putting them before us kind of like puts a little pause on all of the things that we need to focus on ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that women, mothers are naturally nurturers, so we are going to look after our kids. We're going to want them to do well. We're going to want them to eat, so on and so forth. Obviously, you have the really extreme scenarios where that doesn't happen and where mums might need help and support because of mental health, socio-economic factors, so on and so forth. But I do think that you need to put yourself first. Like, the kids will be fine. Like, they're okay. Like, put yourself first. Go out, get your nails done, self-care, all of that stuff. If you don't do that, you'll just be looking anyhow, and then you'll be struggling, and it's just, not it. Strong advocate for that.
I absolutely agree. And I think, you know what, the reality is if you're not putting yourself first, you're giving the kids the scraps of you. They're not getting the best version of you. 100%. And I've been there. When you don't put yourself first, you're shouting, you're screaming at them, and obviously that your relationship with them obviously erodes. So putting yourself, it comes back to that typical cliche. You guys have probably heard it, put your oxygen mask on first, because you can't give what you don't have. 100%. So you have to put yourself first. But then also in the same sentence, I think there's seasons of motherhood that when you've got newborns and toddlers, you're going to sacrifice your sleep. You're going to sacrifice that, outing with a friend. In those times, you may not put yourself first, but overall, you've got to put yourself first.
True.
Yeah, I agree. Because when I first had my son, I had been through the depression and anxiety and stuff, and I had it in my head that to put him first, because it's like a natural, and then you have to actively kind of, in the beginning for me, I had to go against my natural instinct, because it's similar to what you said. You do give them, you're more snappy, you don't have as much patience, and I thought I was a patient woman until I had my son. And then I realized what patience really is, and when you're not fully capable of giving all that you can to your son, or your child, then you can't really give anything to anyone, and then it starts to affect every area of your life, because then everything just falls apart if you're the foundation of your life. So then if that is cracky, then everything is just falling to the wayside, and then even what you're feeding them, what you're clothing them, they're looking at you and they're also learning from how you're treating yourself, how you're treating other people. And if you are giving yourself the scraps, then they're going to then grow up to treat themselves in that same way. Because I learned more from what my parents showed me than what they said.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when, sometimes you can be saying something, and when your actions are contradicting your words, then they're not gonna listen to you. Because that was my experience. So that is what made me more conscious as well on actually living out what I want my son to know, rather than just telling him. Because then that also depletes yourself, and then you're just a shell of yourself, and everyone's like, you need to get it together. So yeah, I agree.
Can I add something to that? I just want to say, what you said was so spot on, because as a mum of 3 girls, I think what I realised really hard along the way is that the way that I'm living my life as a mum, that's their emotional blueprint, right? So when they become mums, they're just going to do what I did. And if I had sons, which I don't, but if I had sons, right, because I'm not having any more kids, and if I had sons, they would look at me and they'd probably expect that of their wife or their mother of their children. So it's not just about you. So when you put yourself first, it's not just about you. It's about the kids who are watching you every single day, because that's their blueprint.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's true. Because sometimes my son, he will do things that I don't even realise I was doing. And it's not that I've said anything. And then I'm thinking, like, where did he get that from? And then I'm realising, I've done something, or his dad has done something. And then he's just doing it. So it was interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Sons and daughters need to be raised differently.
Agreed.
Agree.
I agree.
I agree.
I'll say why I agree, and it's so hard for me to say this, but unfortunately, there are roles that a little girl that will become a woman will have to be better at. And there are roles that a boy that will turn into a man has to be better at. And you can't teach a woman how to provide. Well, you can. You can. Don't come for me. Don't come for me. You can, but she has to understand that if she, for example, decides to become a wife and a mother, there are certain things that she's just gonna have to put on pause for a second and let the man take lead.
Yeah.
And then I also have to teach my son to be a provider.
Yeah.
And do it properly. So in that case, in that sense, I do think that you have to kind of raise them the same but different.
Yeah.
To understand their roles in the future.
Yeah, I agree.
Not to the point that my son can't do the dishes, because he's going to do the dishes and learn how to cook. I'm just saying that there are principles and there are morals that they have to kind of be taught differently so that in the future they don't suffer as more.
Yeah, because I think the morals can be, you give them the same morals, values.
Yeah.
But women are not men and men are not women.
Yeah.
So there are different things they need to learn.
Yeah.
And it's similar to what you said with, they're gonna have to grow to be providers, to lead, because before having my child, I was very much, I had bought into that, independent woman, 50-50, we can do it, I can do everything. And that was a hard reality to face when you actually are having to then be in the role of what women are created to do, which is to mother, to be nurturing naturally. And then if you don't have that man who is able to step into that role of leading, providing, so that you are able to pour into the child, then it just doesn't work. That it's made that way, I feel for a reason, and it works. Yeah. So then when you're trying to fight against it, all of that starts in the raising. Yeah. And I agree. So because with my son, I'm very big on, he has to learn to be a leader. And you notice it from when they're young, they can't let people run over them, because you have to lead. The same with your daughter, but those small things from young, if you don't plant those seeds young, because I'm big on, I don't want my child to have a childhood he has to heal from. So it's just easier with even habits like breaking bad habits. Everything is just simple. When you nip it in the bud and you set the foundation, plant those seeds earlier, then it just makes everything easier. So yeah, that's why I agree.
I think it's more important that children actually now have like both genders involved in their parenting. So obviously you would have the father or fatherly figure if the dad's maybe, I don't know, he's not around or whatever. And then you have your motherly figure as well, the mother, parent, so on and so forth. But in terms of generically, like you would teach, like you've said, you would teach your children all the values like sharing, looking after, whatever. But society has changed now to the point where women are out earning men, women earn a lot more money, women are, you know, self-sufficient. They don't actually need that male to rely upon for them to go and be go-getters and to achieve certain things. I'm not saying they don't want them or whatever, but that's just where it is. So if I'm looking at raising my son, you need to learn how to manage a household if there was no woman in that household. So for instance, you might not be married or you might become a single parent and you might have children, and you need to know what needs to happen, the little things that us mums do day in, day out, like make sure the book bags are sorted, all the things that are running through your head, even whilst we're sitting here and having this conversation. I'm thinking about what I need to do for this week. It's half term coming up. Do you get what I mean? So he needs to have that balance as well. And I think equally for girls. So I do agree with this statement, but also there's just, what you said just rubs me a little bit. It's hard. It is hard. It is hard. It's hard.
That's you know what? I'm just finding it so wild sitting here listening to you guys, because I've only got girls. And the other day, my eldest said to me, she goes, Mama, why does Dad go out to work? Oh, I work, but I work from home. Why don't you go to the office? And I'm like, yeah, because Mum works from home. See, my kids don't go to school. I home educate. I'm not mad, I promise. But yeah, we do that as well. So, and I said to her, do you know, for me, it's really important that my mom's drilled this into me from the beginning, that you have an education. Whether you want to go out to work and use it, that's up to you. But God forbid, you know, if there comes a time where you need to use it, and rightly so, like you said, the world that we live in today, economically, a woman has to go out to work. You know, it's not viable. Whether you work from home or whether you work outside, it's becoming very, very difficult. So I agree in the sense that both genders, when it comes to cooking, cleaning, household managing, they both should know bits, because if they're in that position tomorrow, then they have that, you know, knowledge, right? But also, I think in the same sentence, a lot of my values are shaped from my faith, and I think you probably agree that there are roles, right, for men and women. And women, we're not created to be the providers. We might find ourselves in situations where we have to be, but even the way that our body works hormonally, it's just not for us. So I think, yes, I absolutely agree with this, with the statement, and both genders should have the knowledge if they come into that sort of situation or position.
Yeah, because I think survival is different. Because I feel like every man and boys and girls should know how to survive. Because even as a parent, you don't know if you're going to be there as long as they need you for or whatever. So I think it's important in terms of like they need to have those survival needs and like the values being the same. But I think the only difference would be on like having that mindset, because a lot of men now don't even really know what it is to be a man or to what it is even I'm still learning, or I had to then learn what it is to be a woman. Like I want to be a wife, so I need to know what it is to be a wife. And so I wouldn't teach that to my son, that his dad would then show him, okay, this is what it is to be a man. This is what it is to actually lead a household, which I feel like involves helping with the household tasks. If the mum needs to do this, then this is where you are helping each other, because you both have your strengths, your weaknesses, so you're meant to strengthen each other. Yeah. So I think, but when you don't have the tools or the knowledge, like the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. When you don't have the knowledge, then you literally have your toolkit. What is it, toolkit? I think it's a toolkit, that box. Yeah. So you don't even know, you take out the spanner, you don't even know what to do with it. So I think when you equip, the boy with what he needs to grow into a healthy, well-rounded man, and the daughter has what she needs to grow into a healthy, well-rounded woman, wherever life she ends up going down or they want to go down, I think just giving them the tools they need is important. And the small things are different. So yeah.
Smacking your child is an acceptable form of punishment.
is acceptable.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, agreed. I'm African.
Oh, mate, I have to say strongly disagree.
Disagree.
Oh, the internet's gonna come.
I agree.
I got beats when I was a kid, and I feel like I learned so much from getting beats. I deserve them.
I was gonna say, did you deserve them?
I was naughty, and if I hadn't gotten the pushes and the spoons and the Havaianas, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I'm not saying that every single punishment should be beats. I'm not saying that. I'm going to call it beats because that's just what I know it to be. But I do also believe that, you can take things away. You can speak to your kids. You can, just use all whatever is comfortable for you. But for me, it has worked thus far. I've got a 12 and a 10-year-old, and they do get smacked when they have to be smacked.
Babe,
especially
you can't
with
say that next to me.
I'm really, you know what I mean? When I say smacked, I'm not saying like until they're bruised and bleeding.
Okay.
It's like a little push on the leg.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I'm so sorry. A little flick on the ear. And it works. It works. And it's like, oh, mum. And listen, I don't... Oh, it's difficult now. I know what you do.
There we go. So obviously I have to have a professional hat on and also parent hat as well. So professionally...
I'm not going to get in trouble.
No, you're not going to get into trouble. Come on. You're not going to get into trouble. The legislation is that in the UK, smacking has to be considered a reasonable chastisement. Okay? So... when you're looking at smacking, I think they've banned it up north. England is still legal. However, the way the law works is actually if you smack your child and it is deemed to be unlawful, you could result in prosecution, caution, so on and so forth. Yeah. However, we do know that many people from like cultural backgrounds, like if you're Black, African American, Caribbean, even if you're Asian, so on and so forth, they do use smacking because that's just a universal language that's used. And in the UK, where we live in the West, we would advise not to do so. So that would be the advice. So if we had like a referral from a school or wherever, your child's gone into school, said, I didn't do my homework properly yesterday and mum beat me, because in the Black culture we use the word beats. Obviously, beat sounds very extreme. Like if you're saying, oh, she just tapped me on the leg, that's different to getting beat. So the teacher's hearing that, oh my gosh, the child's getting beaten at home. School then makes a referral to social workers or social services. We're like, okay, does this child have a bruise implement? You might have accidentally bruised them. That could result in Section 47 child protection inquiries. So just to be clear, when people are saying that they smack and whatever, we need to be very clear on the language that we use. We need to actually not use implements, so slippers, belts, hangers, wires, all of those things, because that could result in significant harm for the child, So my practice informs my parenting, whereby I try my hardest not to. A little tap is acceptable. If you're like trying to reprimand. Like my child ran in the road the other day and I started shouting, and the parents were looking at me like, is she mad? But if he got knocked over, the police would be knocking on my door saying, what negligent parenting, do you get what I mean? So you have to balance it, but the reason why I say against is because I feel like children, like we said, they're sponges. So you can literally have conversations. They're learning from your behaviour. So whatever you're doing at home, your child is mirroring what you do. 100%. So if you're shouting, if you're angry, if you're throwing tantrums, if you're crying all the time, your child's picking up on that behaviour. So I would say removing devices, limiting screen time, actually talking to them, stooping down to the same level and saying, you can't do that. If they're having a tantrum, let them have the tantrum. When they're calm, okay, let's talk about it. Like, why was that behaviour wrong? What did you do? So it's just about having conversations. And we always say, like, obviously, can you hit another adult? Can I walk up to you and punch you? Probably not. I'll get arrested. So if you can't do it to another adult, why is it okay to do it to a child? That's fair. So yeah, that's the professional side. I had to put it out there.
Do you know what? I feel like there's so much that I could say on this. So, bit of background, I'm a parenting coach, but also my degree was in South Asian and African colonial history. My husband's Nigerian. I'm majority from a South Asian background, but my grandma was from Sudan, Sudanese. We grew up getting beats. Yeah, things thrown at us, but it was normal. I don't. My parents have been watching this, they watch everything, so I'm not gonna say too much. But we grew up getting beats, and my dad always says to me, you know, Maryam, you talk about trauma and parenting, you talk about this stuff all the time, and he thinks, like yourself, he would say, you know, it made me who I am, it made me stronger. You know, I turned out fine. It's a typical thing that everyone says in our communities, right? But the reality is, did we turn out fine? How are you emotionally? You know, how are you with your communication? Why do we get so triggered? Because I was like this as well. When I'm a kid, they behave like kids, and I'm getting annoyed and triggered at them and shouting and whiling out. But why? Why is that bothering me so much? What is it inside me because of my upbringing or because of that, you know, like being beaten or being shouted and screamed at as a child, that you just acting like a child is bothering me so much? But it took me a long time to understand that actually, you know what? She's just acting like a child. This has got nothing to do with her. This is about me. And I feel like a lot of that comes back to the way that we were disciplined as children. But going back to like Black and brown communities, because that's where my work is that I feel like every time we think about discipline, it's just like getting beats, getting shouted at. We don't know how else to discipline our kids. But obviously now we've come around to, like you said, the way of thinking where it's like, okay, we can speak to them. We can, you know, there's boundaries. That's really important, especially as your kids get older. I know with my girls now that I really have to say, nope, like whether you like it or not, you know, me and your dad have decided that, you know, this is not happening. And, you know, yeah, they'll be upset, but that's fine. You can validate how they feel, but still implement that boundary. For me, that's real discipline instead of smacking them. Because what are you teaching them when you're smacking them? You're teaching them to solve a problem, you have to use power and you have to use violence. And you see it in, you know, when you're shouting and screaming at your kid or you're smacking them, you see it in the way they play together. When they fight, you see yourself in them. I don't know about you guys, but I saw that. I was like, wow, okay, that sounded exactly like me. Where did she learn that from? That was me. Yeah. So if there's one thing that I can say, and I'm saying it, I'm speaking to our communities, our Black and brown communities, if there's one thing that I can say is, please stop doing it. It doesn't work. I know, you know, you could say it was the way of our elders. And another thing I want to add is, for anyone who wants to read around on this a little bit, there's an amazing woman, her name is called Stacey Patton, and she actually says that a lot of the origins of smacking our children, especially as Black people, it originates from colonialism and it originates from slavery. There's a reason why predominantly our culture's discipline in that way. And when you trace it back, it's absolutely wild that one of the reasons why we smack our kids is because when we had children, and, you know, the masters used to come and like take your children away or they were misbehaving, they used to say, you know, like, we used to smack them so that they would behave properly in such a manner that the master would be, you know, happy with you. So your kids stay with you. Otherwise, your child's going to get taken away, God knows where. So we need to understand the origins of why we do certain things. And accept that, all right, you know, it's wrong. It came from here. We can learn a new way. We can learn a better way. And I really, for me, it's a pet peeve when, you know, when you said it's an African thing, I was like, it's not an African thing. Like, it is, but it's like, is that really our culture? Like, where does that come from? And I'm going to be openly and say it comes from colonialism. It comes from the white man. It doesn't benefit our community. So we need to let go of that, because what is the point of sending your kids out into the world broken? That's what they want.
Yeah, just
that's what they want. Whereas if you send them into the world built up, you know, your self-esteem intact, confident, and I know I'm sitting here saying this today. Don't really. I obviously shout at my kids. Yeah, I'm a parenting coach. I still do it. It takes a long time to unlearn those ways, but we can do it. So yeah, that's my 2 pence.
Yeah, I agree, because for me, the only time I'd done it was similar to when he would run in the road. So that was the only if he's putting himself in danger and risking his life, that was the only time. And generally, that's like a last. And I never did it outside of that, because my mum's also a social worker, child protection officer. So, and she grew up with like getting beats, and that was the root of it. That was just how her parents grew up. So they would like get beats regularly, like every Saturday, basically, was how she explained it. And I think for children, you have to know your child, because for some kids, it's necessary. Well, for me, I try to see what he responds to. and I exhaust every other option before it resorted to smacking him because he was running in the road. So for general things, and outside of that, I never did it, but he responds to like taking stuff away or just me speaking to him, and he is receptive. So it's not, but I do find for some kids, you have to know your child and just be in your child, like knowing, also doing the work on yourself to know, okay, why do I respond this way? Because like when he is throwing a tantrum or you say no and he's like, and then like, it's like the sky is falling because you said no. But also knowing, okay, I have to even remind myself, okay, like he's 2. So just relax, take a deep breath. Like for me, there'll be times like where he would always protest every breakfast. And I would have to literally set my eyes on the Lord and just be like, okay, I have to then re-regulate my own emotions to understand, okay, you need to be able to regulate your emotions because he's only 2. He's been on this earth there's children. So they have to also, they're learning, okay, how do I regulate my emotions? How do I calm down? How do I relax enough to listen? And knowing like I said, knowing your child, because most of the time it's unnecessary, but I think for some kids, it's necessary, but never to the point where you are like smacking. Not like I would never like smack him in the face, like be doing the most because it's a child. I'm an adult, and it's just unnecessary. But for like not beats, I think beats is too much.
It's the word though.
It's the word.
It's the word,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's not even that you're actually beating them. It just means it's a little.
Yeah, because like the smack was just like on like the back of his leg, and like that. No, it was.
No, I hear it. Like, trust me, this is nothing.
All the time.
Like, yeah. This is nothing.
Yeah, but not like I wouldn't be like because my grand her old police was Irish, and she would be like they would like even in the school. My dad is an advocate, and he's like similar. Like it made me like that's how I learned. That's how I listened, and they would get me with like the wires, the metal. Not the metal, the wooden spoon. They're doing it in schools. That it was just normal part of society. Where he remembers that his teacher like hitting him with the ruler, and you have to put your hands out and you get smacked and stuff like that. So I think so pairing that with alright, my mum's I have the knowledge from her because she works in social work, and so knowing okay, I also have to know my child because what I responded to is not because I have a sister is not what my sister responded to. So it's not just okay, this is just how I discipline and it's gonna the same for all your kids because your children will be different and what one responds to is not how the other one will. So you have to take the time to understand your child and what they respond to. And that this smacking is never, I don't condone beating. I feel like that's never necessary to literally just be doing the most on your child. But when they're young, that's the only time when they're putting themselves in danger or someone else in danger and they're not listening and you've exhausted every other option. But I would never like use a weapon.
My dad used to ask me to choose the belt. He'd be like, which one do you want today?
Yeah, like when you have to go.
He's gone.
No.
So that is why, that's why I agree. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's selfish to have children if you can't afford them.
No. I think. No. I don't think.
I agree because I've said it already online. I agree,
Yeah.
and I stand 10 toes in what I say.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I don't think I agree. Disagree.
I agree.
It's a tricky one because I think probably maybe all of us in this room come from parents that didn't have it all patterned at the beginning. You know, you're not really to know if you're going to be able to give your kids the best, right? So it's hard. You can't bring a kid into this world without knowing if you can give them Do you know what? I can't do this. I can't do this.
I can.
But do it.
I'll
Take
do
the
it.
lead.
I'm going to take the lead because
I can't do this.
Where we live, I can only speak for the Western world. We live in the West, yeah? We are afforded opportunity. We are afforded free education in the UK. Everyone has access to education. You can do certain things to climb. Yes, there is poverty. I absolutely understand that. I understand that having sex is animal instinct too. And I also understand that as humans, we can procreate. And as you procreate, you have a child. Yeah, that's the act of procreation. However, yeah, in this cost of living crisis, yeah, in this no one can buy a house, in this everyone's living on top of each other in council properties and nobody wants to move out to the sticks or whatever because their family network and support's there. All of that stuff, yeah, no offense to anyone, it just doesn't make any sense in my head logically to sit down and plan to have children.
Yeah.
Like if you cannot meet certain needs of your of that child or that said child when you want to have them, and you're not in a space where you can actually manage them, because all of these factors will have an impact on the quality of life that you are going to have for that child. Mm-hmm. So for me, I would say if you're broke, don't have kids. Period.
That's what I wanted to say.
No, but if you are broke, I'm talking about the Western world. I know there are extreme cases in places where people are extremely poverty. They don't have the lifestyle that we have. I get it. Like, you're going to be intimate. You're going to have children. That is, your way of life is very different to ours. But for ours, if you've gone to school, you've got your GCSEs, you've gone sixth form, you've gone college, you're going uni, and you're doing all of these things, and you're educated, and you know that our circumstances socially in the society is not great, and you're now going to go plan to have children and then bring them, and you have no plan of looking after those children. You have no plan. You have no plan, but let's go have a kid because it sounds good.
It's a bit of both.
It's a bit of a both of us, and we're gonna and they're not nice eyes, and they're gonna have nice. And I can dress them in this and that. How are you gonna fund that? You know, children need to be stimulated. Do you know that children need to do extracurriculars? There we go. So for me, it's a no. Like, if you haven't got like your basics, and it takes more than money to raising a child, but everything we speak about, you have to pay your bills, right? Yeah. Is anyone paying the bills? Yeah. Is the government reducing our bills? No. You got to pay your rent or your mortgage. So if you can't afford to pay for those things, respectfully, the taxpayers are getting upset now. No one wants to be footing for people's bills anymore. So you have to make ends meet. And to me, it's just not smart.
Yeah. I think this is tricky. Do you know what? It's tricky in the sense that obviously you shouldn't bring a child into the world knowing you've got no plan. Like, let's just have one. I've got no plan. We're completely broke. I've got no money to like even, do my next grocery shop, that sort of thing.
But people do that. Yeah, people actually do this. People actually do it.
They actually do.
They're actually doing that.
Yeah, I didn't think that far.
No. I'm telling you, people are actually doing. They have no plan. No plan. Like, literally no plan. And the flops, they're pregnant.
Okay, then I'm gonna say, if they've got no plan, then why are you having kids? So I don't know if I'm retracting my statement. But if we're gonna go there, then. Yeah, but I don't know, like, coming back to my faith, we have where we believe that every single child comes with their own portion of, I don't know how you translate the word, but it's like wealth. They'll come with it, not to say like, suddenly like a mountain of gold is going to fall on your table, but every single child, if God brings in, a baby into the world, a soul into the world, then that soul has their own portion of like written wealth or wealth. And that's not to say that you should just keep having babies and not have a plan. And then that's where I agreed with it. What did I do? Agree or disagree? I can't remember what I did now. But yeah, that's why I disagreed with it, because that part of me was like, okay, yes, you should have a plan, but then also God will provide as long as as long as you're doing your bit as well. God will provide. But if we're taking it to the bit where we're just having babies and we're not able to afford to even feed ourselves, then that's like you said, quality of life for the child, because then that's injustice to the child of what opportunities you're able to give them, and even the quality of your parenting. Like, if you're just in survival mode, what are you going to be able to give to the child? So I don't know where I am at the moment with this, but yeah, there you go.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with what everyone said, because how old was I? I was like 23. I think when I got pregnant, I was 23. No, I don't know. I'm 27 now. My child's about to be 3. So I was around 24, yes, because I turned 25 when I was pregnant. And I was younger, and we provide for our child. But realizing all that it takes for that child to have a good quality of life, a healthy life, all that you have to fund while having a child, I believe it is extremely selfish to knowingly or unknowingly have a child, will get pregnant, and you have no means to care for the child emotionally, financially. You're pouring from an empty well. I believe that is very selfish because it takes a lot financially, emotionally. If you don't even know who you are, it affects your parenting. If you don't have the money, then you're stressed, your patience is short, because like nurseries cost a lot. Nursery is expensive. They need clothes, they need food, they need to have their mind to be built up, so you need activities to do with them. And like kids, they'll be happy. Like I'll buy my son a toy and he's happy with, like, you know, the roll, once the toilet roll is done, he's happy to make the nothing out of that and he's happy. But it's very selfish. I think it's very selfish. Like when I hear of people that are in poverty, but they have like a bag of kids, and then the kids are then forced to go out to work and their childhood is robbed, then I think it's very selfish in that aspect. Even if you have a lot of money, but you're always working, you don't have the network for that child to have a fruitful life, I think that's selfish as well, because our children are not just here to fill a void that you have. Like, kids are not there to fill a void. Kids are not there to, okay, well, I need money, so let me have kids, and then they can go out and work. They're not there to fill a void, that they're here, born. I believe you're also born with like a purpose and assignment that God has for them. And having kids made me understand why, okay, you're meant to wait till marriage to have sex. It made me understand why you need a father, why you need, like, why that is all built up for that child to have the best quality of life they can have. Because when you're just out popping babies and you have no infrastructure, because I have a lot of support, and I could only imagine, because me and my son's dad are not together, but like he's very active. We both have a support network, and I could only imagine
The ones that don't.
the ones that don't. And I've only got one. So can you imagine? I can't even imagine. So I think it's selfish also to
It's
yourself.
the trenches. It's called the trenches.
Yeah,
Yeah, the ghetto.
baby.
It's horrible.
Because I can only imagine then for yourself, not even just selfish for the child, but selfish for yourself, because you're already depleted, whether knowingly or unknowingly, and then now you've brought a child in the mix. And if you're in a relationship, then that's also now going to affect the relationship. Everything is just in catastrophe. So just
Shambolic.
let's not. So yeah, that's why I agree.
It is natural for a mother to regret having children.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agree.
I disagree.
I think there are moments in motherhood where regret is a strong word, by the way, but there's moments and pockets of bringing them up that you think, oh man, should have just listened. I shoulda, woulda, couldas, and it's like, maybe I should have waited and done this properly, maybe another time in my life. So regret is a strong word, but I do think it's natural to feel like maybe I should have rethought this. Maybe I should have waited a little bit. Maybe I should have done this with, like we talked about, more finances, more education, a plan. So I think it's super natural to kind of question, what have I done here? Because now they're here and you can't take back time. You can't, reverse it. So I think it's super natural. Is it bad? Yeah, it's not very nice to say, but we're human beings, and the same way that you can regret sleeping with someone on a Saturday, the same way you can regret eating a Big Mac at 2 a.m, regret is regret. And I know that you can't compare that to having children, but it's like the essence of regret can also feed into having children, because it's like, now I can't give them exactly what I imagined or dreamt of. Now we're here. So yeah, I think it is natural to regret having kids.
Yeah, I'd I agree with you. Yeah. I agree. I think, Yeah, it is what it is. Like, circumstances are different as well. Everyone, like, some people actually plan. I think we're the generation of planning, whereas before, women were just getting knocked up. You're just getting knocked up, and then she's very depleted. I did not ask for all of these kids. And then some children have been favoured more in comparison to others based on what they can do for the family and all of those different dynamics. So I think as mothers, as women, I think you need to protect your womb at all costs. Don't be having children here, there and everywhere. If you can not have them for as long as possible, if you choose to do that, clap for yourself. If you don't want to and you want to have them younger, then make sure you have stability as much as possible and you've got a good support network, even if you and the father doesn't work out or whatever those dynamics are. But I would say, like, women, protect your wombs, man. It's very important. So you don't have to have that regret if you don't need to, if it's not necessary.
Before we continue, so I just want to say one more thing. you know that sometimes it's not even like just the fact that you've had a child. It's actually sometimes the dad. Sometimes it's the father that makes you feel like you regret it. Does that make sense? Because he's a madman. So he now has made you feel like, like I maybe shouldn't have just not done this because you've now made me regret having them with you. Doesn't mean having children in general. It's not the children. They're the best, right? Yeah. It's the father. Go.
Yeah. You know what? I love the honesty of the room.
I will always keep it a buck. I love it
because I think, do you know what? It's funny. This question is funny because recently, so my little sister got married. I'm not going to go into too much depth. But one thing I advised her, I had my kids quite young. I think 24. So I had them at 24 and one's 10, one's 8 and one's 4. So yeah. I think, if I was to say to you, do you know what? I regret having, I've got to be careful what I say here. I regret having one of my children, right? Or the timing, or, maybe I should have waited, because the advice that I've given to my sister who's just got married, I said, you know what? Wait. Do not get pregnant in the next 2 years. Not because you don't want, not because, it's not good to have kids, but enjoy each other. Go on holiday, get to know the man, yeah? I know you know him. Must. But when you live, like, obviously in our religion, we don't live together before we don't have sex before marriage, don't do none of that.
Get a dog.
They want a cat. But yeah, so I would say start there. Get the cat, feed it, clothe it, 2 years, see how you get on. And then when you're ready, but honestly, on a serious level, go on holiday, get to know each other, because living with someone is two different things. When you're going out there, meeting, do all lovey-dovey, we know the reality, right? Yeah, it's honeymoon period and all that. So I think and I think one point that you made was, it's not that you regret the child themselves. Maybe it's the circumstances. Yeah. Maybe it's the situation. Maybe it's like, you know what? If I had waited, or if I hadn't, maybe I would have been at a better level of my career, or been able to give them the house that I wanted to, or being able to provide. We could go on holiday 2-3 times a year. Maybe it's more that than the child. Or choose the person. And that's normal. And like you said, regret is a strong word. I hear what you're saying, but I still stick by that it's natural. You are going to have those feelings. I think if more mums were open about this, we wouldn't feel like we're alone in feeling like this, and we wouldn't like guilt and shame ourselves like, oh my gosh, does that mean I don't love my kids? No, it doesn't. Of course you love your kids. You still love them. You just, maybe you wish that, in hindsight is a great thing. Yeah. Maybe I could have waited, or maybe I wouldn't have chosen him, or maybe I would have, done something a little bit different. So yeah, it's natural.
Forward this to all women that are thinking about having kids.
I disagree because, I agree with all that you guys said, but it was like, is it unnatural I think it's unnatural to regret having children. I don't think it's just because something is common doesn't make it natural. I think it's common that a lot of people do regret having children, but I don't think, like, children are always a blessing. And I do agree with, I think maybe the question, like, you can regret maybe the circumstances, because that's similar, where, like, I was, okay, let's be wise, let's use wisdom. Okay, so, yeah, in the circumstances, because me and my son's dad were together until a few months in, and then, like, the circumstances then was affecting how made me think, later down the line, then I thought, like, I regret maybe the circumstances and stuff like that. But I never regretted having him, because you love your children. But yes, I think it's natural and common to regret what's the word? like the circumstances, you do have those thoughts. I think it's natural to have those thoughts of, like maybe I should have done this, or like if I didn't have kids, because I think like I would love to be move to Mexico for like a year and to be moving here, there, and everywhere. But I have my son; he needs his dad, so that is not viable because of my circumstances. And I would love, like, I want to do a mission trip in like, I don't know, Chile, but obviously you have kids, and there are limitations on restrictions on, and you have to, when you're considering your circumstances, your children, those all have a part to play. So so that's why I disagree.
Can I throw something out there?
Yeah.
What if your child turned into a murderer? Would you regret having your child? If your child was a murderer, or if they were a rapist or a paedophile or a terrorist, just any of those things, would you regret having that child? Because you said it's not natural.
Yeah.
So would you regret having that child?
Okay, well, I'm not going to claim that. So
No, of course, I'm just saying, what if it's all hypothetical?
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking.
I think I don't know. I think it's hard to say until you're in that situation. Because like, I've seen some videos of parents and their child has been convicted and the mum is still there like crying over the child even though they've been convicted of murder. So I think it's hard.
That's why
It's
I led with
hard
regret.
until you're in the situation.
That's why I led with regret is a big one.
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's hard
to
until you're
differentiate.
in that situation. But only speaking to, yeah, I think it's hard until you're in that situation. But I mean, in terms of like, I think it's common because there's illnesses that are common and they will say, oh, it's natural for like these things to happen. But it's just because it's common, I don't think it's natural. Because I feel like over the whole, like, okay, so I can't separate my faith from it. So from a faith perspective, and I only got serious in my faith after having my son, but then realizing, okay, this is why God made children for marriage. This is why like you're meant to use wisdom in making decisions and actually having foresight and not jumping into things, because then that's how then in those situations then you will have regret. You will have those like shoulda, woulda, couldas, which I think is always going to be a natural part of life. Like there's always going to be when you're I should have done this differently when I was younger, because I have those. So I think in that sense, yeah. But then,
isn't that connected to regret?
It's just a different way of saying it.
It's just a different way of saying it.
but
I'm
I
not
think
taking
it's
away
different
from what
with
you're
having
saying. I'm
children
just saying.
is the question.
No, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
But
I
because
think-
you're saying all these words, they're
Yeah.
actually kind of connected to regret in a way.
But I think it's specifically on like the question. Because I
Like,
say
so
with the
what
question was regret. Do I regret?
Just the children.
like, would I look at my child and be like, I regret having you?
Not personal.
Not personally.
Naturally.
Like, is
Is it a natural, like from the womb and
Yeah.
your mind to think?
I don't think it's natural.
Okay.
Just because as a woman, like you're made to have children.
I don't think you can say that though.
not
I think, not even that, not all women. I think just because we can do something, it doesn't mean we're automatically going to attach to that thing that we can do.
Well, or you're made to nurture. You're made to be motherly. Like even if you don't have kids,
Okay,
everyone has a natural.
Yeah, but again, you
nurturing
can
nature.
have that, and then you can wake up one day and feel like, F this, I don't want to be a mum. I am sick. I don't want to do this no more. It's not for me. It's not the life that I've chosen. Like, I actually regret this. And that is natural. That is the feeling of that moment
then now-
there and then.
I'm not an alien for thinking twice.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's
But I
natural.
don't think it's that. It's not in. I don't think it's natural. I think it's like, it can happen.
Okay.
I think it might be common. I don't think it's natural.
Maybe you need a definition on what natural is then.
Yeah, I think
As in
maybe,
what
like, it's
define
not-
nature, nature.
Like,
Natural.
I think natural is that
Your actual rawest emotions. I've got natural hair. This is me. This is how I feel. That's what I would say. No,
natural. I'm thinking
It's something
like,
that comes from.
like your
it comes
natural
from with
essence. Yeah, I don't think so.
Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree. Yeah.
I don't think it's like a condemning. It's not in a condemning like, oh my gosh, how can you think this? I think it's just I think it is common, like as an maybe.
I think
Because
because there's
that's
so
not
much
easy.
judgment behind
Women actually
saying, I
coming out and
regret
saying,
having you.
yeah.
There's going to be, it's filled with so much
That's it.
judgment
But I
so
think-
that you're afraid to
yeah.
say it. But I think it's a very natural thing. As a,
To regret your child.
to regret having
children or having
Not
a
my
child.
kid, not yours, just children in general.